on to relationships. I was actually really, really impressed with this sexual selection essay. It's a really, really tricky one, and it is actually like the biological rhythms being removed from the course. So, one to watch, I believe. Um, on the whole, AO1 was really, really good. What I am missing in a lot of answers is keywords. So, what you're essentially explaining to me in this essay is why men engage in casual sex and women don't from an evolutionary perspective. So, how biology and evolution has shaped differences in human reproductive behaviour. But the bottom line is for 16 marks, outline and evaluate why men engage in casual sex and women don't, and all the reasons from cells to the consequences of casual sex. Go through everything. So I should be seeing definitions like intersexual selection and intrasexual selection from Darwin. I think only one student in the entire year group mentioned his name. I should be seeing explanations of anisogamy, of the consequences of casual sex and how they differ greatly in men and women. I should see an explanation of reproductive fitness, which is essentially the chances that you are able to go on and reproduce and have babies that go on and reproduce so that your genes continue through the gene pool. Obviously, that looks very different for men who just need to have sex with as many women as possible, hence loads of casual sex. Versus women who need to just choose one partner who will look after them and their children, hence no casual sex. So quite a lot of the time, elements of that AO1 were missing or not linked to evolution. So from an evolutionary perspective, things were quite different in what we call the EEA, the environment of evolutionary adaptation, like caveman times onwards, essentially, because if a woman engaged in casual sex, she would be left pregnant without a mate, with reputational damage, life-threatening pregnancy, because it was life-threatening at the time, and years of feeding and carrying that baby, because it was breastfeeding or nothing back in the day. So the consequences of casual sex are very, very different in comparison to men who can just, and still can, have sex and leave. However, can they? So one question that lots of you raised is, now that we have modern day contraception, women can have as much casual sex as men. Yes. Also, men are duty bound to pay child benefit, childcare, invest in their child until they're 18 now. And we have paternity tests that prove who dad is. So they can't just have sex and leave. So the consequences of casual sex are now very, very different for men and women. So lots of you said, so actually this can't explain behaviour anymore. However, you're right, and that is absolutely a brilliant argument. But don't juxtapose that with Clark and Hatfield, who found the total opposite. So Clark and Hatfield found that no women wanted casual sex, but 75% of men very interested. So why is it then that modern research is still finding this huge difference in reproductive behaviour when we know the ultimate versus proximate causes debate says that times have changed? You don't need to answer that, but don't juxtapose the two arguments together, one after the other, when they're completely equal and opposite. Some of you cleverly raised that and pointed it out. Even if you just write, despite Clark and Hatfield's findings, like, we just need to be quite careful with how we present those two very opposing ideas in AO3, yeah? Another thing that was missing in the AO3 was links from studies back to theory. So, for example, Buss's study, that huge meta-analysis across the world, supported the idea that of intersexual selection, that it's a universal trait, it's biological, because no matter where anybody lived, whether they came from a tribe or from a city, they all wanted the same thing. Men universally wanted the same thing, and women universally wanted the same thing. Hence, there are biological drives in mate choice, which are shaped by evolution, totally supporting the theory. So some ideas for you there. Next, we have Rusbolt's investment model. Now, this was on the whole not well answered. First of all, she's a woman. Okay, so don't call her a man, because there are so few women psychologists in the course that we need to celebrate them when they occur. Second of all, loads of you mixed this up with those central theories of like social exchange, equity, and Rusbolt. You need to be really clear. There are 3 factors which navigate relationships according to Rusbolt. The first is satisfaction. If I'm happy, I'll stay. The second is quality of alternatives. If someone better comes along, I'm going to go. And the third one is investment, which most of you identified. And there are 2 types, intrinsic and extrinsic. All of those 3 factors are the basis of the theory. They affect commitment, which is stay or go behaviour. So if all of those are in place, I'll stay. If they're not, I'm going to go. And lots of you identified ways that Rusbolt kind of illustrated commitment. There are 5 ways. They're much less important. That part of the AO1 is just like an aside. It's the 3 factors that are the critical AO1, especially in an 8 marker. Like, they have got to be in place. Okay, so AO3 wise, first of all, this was a tricky question because it asked for 3 strengths. You did learn 3 strengths. And you could also compare Rusbolt's with the other theories, and it comes out favourably. It's much better. But the best one was Rusbolt and Mart's, which took place in a refuge. It's not with refugees. There's nothing to do with refugees. It's in a refuge. So a refuge is a place where women go to escape their abuser. Okay, so that refuge study is really, really important because it shows that even in the most misunderstood relationships or understudied relationships where domestic violence occurs, this model can still be used to explain commitment. So absolutely brilliant. The second study is Rusbolt herself, who asked couples in committed relationships to keep a diary, tracking the 3 factors, and found total support that satisfaction, quality of alternatives, and investment all affect whether they stay or leave the relationship. Then you have Leon Agnew's massive meta-analysis, which was also brilliant research support that found in a meta-analysis of thousands of couples, total support for all those 3 factors again. And it also highlighted research on understudied couples, so gay men and lesbians, that found support that those 3 factors do impact whether we stay or go. However, what you do need to know, because this is going to be really important when we study issues and debates, is that it actually highlighted, as well as research support, it did highlight differences, because in straight couples, satisfaction was the most important factor, but in lesbians, quality of alternatives was more important, and in gay men, investment was less. So there are actually sexuality differences which later you can draw out as a negative. Yes, they show support because the 3 features are supportive. However, they also highlighted this key difference, which is a problem because it does impact how we generalise that theory, and we'll come to that in issues and debates, just worth taking note of now. Okay.